please rise in body or spirit. For hymn 121, we'll build a land. The word land changed to love. Love, as granted for Mark Miller's creation of peace. The words of this hymn were adopted from Isaiah and Amos by Barbara Zanotti, 20th century, a peace activist. The music was written by Carolyn McDade, a feminist activist, songwriter, and Unitarian Universalist. The tune was arranged by Betsy Jo Angelbrant, the director of music at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Annapolis, Maryland. Again, this is We'll Build a Love.
We'll build a love where we bind up the broken. We'll build a love where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised love that can be. Come, build
Good morning. Welcome to Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Reverend Rodney Limmery, and my pronouns are he and his. It has been 10 working days since the erasure of queer folks from government websites. This is your reminder that I am still here. We are still here, and if you are part of that larger umbrella, we celebrate your existence. For those visiting this morning, welcome. If you feel comfortable, may I ask you to just raise a hand or let us know that you're here with us, and let this beautiful group of people welcome you. And if you are online, please chat, and I'll check it in a minute and let the people online know that you are visiting us as well. Regardless of how you have chosen to spend part of your week, you have chosen to do that with us, whether you are here in the sanctuary, in Borton Hall for a little extra space, or on our live stream. We are really happy to have you. And welcome back if you are returning to campus for the first time in a while. For those online, please join our virtual coffee hour, which will be held for 15 minutes after the service, so that you can say hello to the people you've been chatting with. If you are visiting, we hope that you sign a visitor's card, be it virtually or at the table after our service, the visitor table after the service. Most months, on the first Sunday of that month, following the service, there is a time when people can sign the membership book. Membership is an important part of community connection, and it gives you full rights and responsibilities in our congregation. For those needing a listening ear today, we have pastoral listeners here on campus. You will see them near the water column during the offertory. That way you know who to contact. We are a busy congregation trying to live out our mission and our UU values, and here are just a few of the things that you can do. So today, you can join us for our Justice Sunday immediately following service, where we have two options for you to get engaged and build community. You can also support our youth groups who are selling soups to raise money in their efforts to go to this year's General Assembly of Congregations in June. So please grab a bowl of soup, and then maybe decorate a Valentine's Day card for various Black, trans, and local justice organizations and leaders in our country. Given all that is happening to these targeted groups specifically, this is a small way to show them some extra love. For those like me who are artistically challenged, you could instead join us in building comfort bags for the unhoused in our community as part of our Faith Without Walls initiative led by our intern minister, Rose. If you are concerned about the state of democracy here, please consider staying for a discussion and presentation by one of our accountability partners, Indivisible, a nonpartisan group that will provide us with some direct local, state, and federal actions that we can engage in to lift up our UU values in the running of our country. We will also begin our discussion and brainstorming on the creation of a mutual aid network here in Contra Costa County. So if you've been trying to get connected to things that can channel your frustration and angst, this is it. Please join us in Borton Hall, again, after the service. And most importantly, welcome to this, our beloved community.
Good morning. I'm Mark Chase. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. My pronouns are he and him. Welcome to our service. We begin our services by reading our mission together. We bring to life our Unitarian Universalist values as we seek truth and work for justice, nurture compassion and courage, reach out to each other and to our larger community of faith, bridge the divisions that womb the human family, transform ourselves and our world. Thanks to those who are considering the commitments of membership. In these times, we need to support our shared values to be willing to make this important commitment. Next Saturday, we will have a fundraiser produced by a friend of the congregation, Stephanie Singer. This production of Doubt, which was first brought to MDUUC, is created as a fundraiser for the Winter Nights Family Shelter Program and will be held here next Saturday. Please see the Just in Time section for other ways you can be part of what we are doing as our ministers and other leaders prepare new initiatives to meet this moment. And welcome. It's good to be together.
And apparently I am more than just artistically challenged. I skipped 2 other announcements. So next Saturday is our quarterly spiritual retreat, Breath and Spirit. So please see the details in the weekly email and the beacon, and make sure you register for that really incredible time for recentering. And in that same venue, today we were supposed to have sound healing with Therese Domador this afternoon, but that has been canceled, so just to let you know. And it is a wonderful time to create community with one another, so I invite you to turn to your neighbors or in the chat and just welcome one another.
Please rise in body or spirit for hymn number 318, We Would Be One. Unitarian minister Samuel Wright composed these words set to John Sibelius' Freedom Hymn, Finlandia, for the 1954 conference at which Universalists and Unitarian youth merged to form a single group. 17 years before their 2 parent denominations followed them to create the Unitarian Universalist Association.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high call.
My name is Phoenix Dover. I use he, they pronouns, and this is Until All Means All by Erica Hewitt. The chalice, as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism, arose as a beacon of hope in an atmosphere of tyranny. The chalice arose as a sign of promise that the marginalized world would neither be forgotten nor ignored because they are beloved and precious from the perspective of the holy. This morning, we remember all of the people who have been told explicitly or implicitly through police violence or government policy, through derision or dehumanization, that they are anything less than whole, anything less than beloved. As we each light a chalice in our homes, may we make of our lives a beacon, a symbol of our promise to draw the circle wide, a sign that we will not rest until all means all.
Good morning. All right, today we have a story called The Monster's Secret. Lena was absolutely sure that a monster lived under her bed. Raise your hand if you've ever had a monster under your bed. Yeah. Every night she heard a soft shuffling, quiet sighs, and sometimes, if she listened really closely, a little sniffle, like maybe the monster was crying. I know, poor baby, right? She didn't tell anyone, of course, because her big brother would just make fun of her, and her parents would probably say something silly like, monsters aren't real. Raise your hand if you think monsters aren't real. We have some non-believers. But Lena knew better. One night, after lying awake for what felt like forever, she decided she had had enough. She took a deep breath, grabbed her flashlight, and peered over the edge of the bed. "All right, monster," she whispered. "I know you're down there." Silence. Uh-oh. Are you okay?" she asked, a little softer this time. There was a long pause, and then, from the darkness, a very small voice replied, "No." Lena's heart skipped. The monster talked. Slowly, a shadowy figure crept out from beneath the bed. It wasn't as scary as she had imagined. It had big, round eyes that shimmered like puddles in the moonlight, and a long, fuzzy tail that curled nervously behind it. Lena sat up. "Well, why are you crying?" she asked the monster. The monster wiped its nose on its sleeve. Because you're afraid of me." Lena blinked. She hadn't expected that. I didn't choose to be a monster," it continued. "People just see my claws and my teeth, and they decide I'm bad. But I don't want to be scary." Lena thought about that. She had spent so long believing that the monster was dangerous that she never considered what it might actually be afraid of. "Well," she said, scooting to the edge of the bed, "if you don't want to be scary, then don't be. We can be friends instead." The monster's eyes widened. "Really?" Lena grinned. "Sure. But can you tell me your name?" The monster hesitated and then whispered, "My name is Milo." "Well, hi, Milo," she said, holding out her hand. "Let's start over." And just like that, the monster under her bed wasn't a monster at all. He was just Milo. Milo was a little different, a little misunderstood, but not scary after all. And from that night on, neither Lena nor Milo ever felt alone in the dark again. The end. And now I'd like to invite you to join us in singing the children and youth to their activities.
May your heart be open to new learning My name is Casey Gardner. My pronouns are she and her, and they and them. So I want to tell you a story this morning. This is a true story. So my second year as a teacher, our school went on lockdown before first period. I was not there, but I learned upon arriving that the campus had received multiple threats of an active shooter. Essentially, a student posted on social media that they were planning to commit an act of gun violence. This threat turned out to be a credible one. The student had access to a gun and expressed a clear intention to use it. But thanks to the proactivity of some very brave young people, the student was apprehended and taken into custody. Later, I found out this student had been one of mine. I was devastated. I had them in my class 2 years in a row, my first 2 years of teaching, and up to that point, I thought there had been progress. And I know what some of you already might be thinking. Here was the senseless logic of another angry young white male, so brainwashed by extremism that it drove him to this. But you're wrong. True, this student was young and white. They had spent the last 2 years in my class wearing a MAGA hat daily. They had a history of racist and xenophobic tirades, often directed at other students. They had been diagnosed with a variety of behavioral issues and had been clearly radicalized in online communities. Once I remember them calling an article not against, but about the Dakota Access Pipeline propaganda. And of course, they were alienated by their peers and frequently bullied. But this student wasn't a boy. This student was a girl. And from the moment that I met her, my first thought was, I've got to help this kid. So I put her in groups with students I thought would be good influences. I checked in with her when she was angry. I tried to notice every time she did something positive or helpful. I praised her intelligence. I made her feel seen. I even engaged sometimes in respectful, though sometimes challenging, dialogue about issues which we disagreed on. And I surrounded her with support. This did show results. She started socializing with people who had different views. She self-analyzed, challenged her own thinking, and she spoke up in class more. She even dyed her hair pink and started dating in the months before this incident occurred. But here was the problem. I too assumed she was a boy. Because behind the facade, the name, and the clothing of what appeared to be another extremist, trigger-happy teenage boy, there could only be one thing: the unchecked rage, entitlement, and ignorance of young, toxic masculinity. And her classmates believed this, and her family believed this, and all the people that she wanted to see her believed this. 3 months after her arrest and subsequent stay in a youth psychiatric facility, which I can't talk about since she is now an adult, she came out as transgender. And then it all finally made sense. This wasn't an attempted act of hate. It was a cry of desperation in order to escape an immense spiral of shame. She did not believe she would ever be accepted until finally she was. I want to be clear that the reason she felt safe enough to finally shed that shame was because of the healthy relationships myself and other adults had built with her. Today, she is a self-proclaimed happy adult. When I spoke to her last, she was helping to provide access to hormone replacement therapy, and she's studying to be a nurse. I cannot speak for every attempted or enacted incident of gun violence, but I tell this story to provide a different framing of the person behind the gun, because I believe that hurt people, and the best way to prevent any act of violence is to direct those in crisis to support, or at the very least, show them basic human empathy. Now, as a teacher, I was not fully qualified to help this struggling young woman, but I am extremely grateful that she gained access to the type of care that could help her. It did take the initiative to meet the needs that I could, but I couldn't meet all of them. I believe that hurt people, but I do not believe that hurt people kill people, because I believe overwhelmingly that guns do that. We have seen the statistics from countries that have had firearms banned or heavily regulated, and acts of gun violence are practically non-existent, which shows that if you take guns out of the equation, you simply don't have very many people killing people. But we do not have common sense gun laws. Sadly, I fear it might be a long time before we do. So then, what power do we have as individuals to curb this epidemic of gun violence in our country? Here's my short list. 1, educate yourself and spread awareness about gun safety and gun violence statistics. If we want to upturn the narrative about taking away guns, we have to be literate enough to dialogue with those who will continue to own them. Also, please educate young people on how to see the signs that a friend or peer may be thinking about committing gun violence. 2, if you own a firearm, please make sure that it is kept locked in a safe at all times, especially if you have youth or those with behavioral issues living in your household. 3, advocate for common sense gun control with an emphasis on background checks, waiting periods, and the banning of ghost guns, which is guns that are built by purchasing individual parts. 4, advocate for free and inexpensive access to mental health care and donate to organizations that provide it. 5, learn about how radicalization happens and where it forms. If you're raising a young person or financially supporting an adult that you feel may be radicalizing, try to limit their access to the people and places that fuel this mindset, especially if it is online. Spend time with them in the real world and provide them with opportunities for positive, humanizing interactions with people who share healthy interests. 6, develop loving, supportive, and non-judgmental connections with those in your life who you are concerned may be prone to future violent or extremist viewpoints. Model emotional regulation and talk openly about how you personally seek support. Destigmatize the experiences of anger or isolation and present coping strategies as viable options. 7, learn about de-radicalization strategies because they do exist, and in fact, any individual is capable of using them. 8, do not give in to stereotypes about who commits gun violence and why. 9, help to change the conversation around guns from one of hopelessness to one of agency. We are disempowered, but we are not powerless. 10, take care of yourself, and don't let the media coverage skew your perspective. For every school shooting that is carried out, there are 5 that are prevented. And while those that do occur are tragedies, those that do not are a testament to the fact that even when we can't save everyone, we are still doing something right. So come, let's do our part to heal this precious, though wounded world together.
Please rise in body or spirit for hymn number 95, There's More Love Somewhere. This is an African-American hymn which was named for Stephen Bantu Biko, a Black South African activist and founder of the South African Students Organization.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Now is the time in our service where we come together to bear witness to those joys and sorrows that are too great for any one of us to hold alone. If you have written in our book of joys and sorrows today, please come forward to light a candle as I read your entry. Tom Taylor, sorry. Tom Taylor is lighting a candle. I am grateful in the light we bring and the community of care. Perry Talmadge is lighting a candle of joy. On January 13th, I celebrated 4 years clean from active addiction. In a time where there is little to find joy in, this is my greatest source. Mary Neal writes, my birthday is the 17th, 74 trips around the sun. So glad to be here. Janet Hoy is also lighting a candle. A friend, Kathleen Kathleen Kirk passed away unexpectedly this week. Please light my candle in remembrance and love for her family, and friends. Casey Gardner is asking a candle to be lit. My grandfather fell over the weekend and sustained fairly serious injuries. Please light a candle of concern for him as he is in new full-time care. And I'm so sorry, I have an anonymous candle that is being asked to be lit for our transgendered loved ones, especially for those who are starting their journey. Hopefully, they can feel our love. And Reverend Leslie is asking for a candle to be lit for all of those who have loved ones who are targets of the hateful edicts of the last 3 weeks, including immigrants, LGBTQ folks, families receiving public assistance, government workers, researchers, teachers, and so many more. If you are one of these people, Leslie is asking you to email her directly at leslie@mduuc.org. And I am asking a candle of hope and joy to be lit, holding our hopes for the safe release of all hostages in Palestine and Israel, and continued implementation of the current but fragile multi-phased ceasefire. I'm also asking for 2 final candles to be lit. The first represents all of the joys and sorrows not voiced aloud today, but still present in our collective hearts. And the second, a candle that reminds us of this imperfect but precious world and our role in making it more loving and more just.
To recognize that this congregation has for many years honored International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which this year took place on January 27th. 2 weeks ago, the United Nations marked the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau German Nazi concentration and extermination camp, where over 1 million people were murdered in this one vast complex alone, most of them Jews. This was an important anniversary to mark, and this International Day of Commemoration was important, particularly to continue to teach and learn about the Holocaust globally. Over the last weeks since that day, at the end of January, as the Palestinian people have returned to their homeland in Gaza, they are returning to rubble and without loved ones killed in the violence. The intergenerational cycles of trauma continue. Violence begins with demeaning and separating, creating a culture in which seeing the humanity of others becomes harder because we fear for our own safety and the safety of those we love. In this time of rising hatred and the authoritarian ultranationalism here in our nation, we cannot afford not to remember. In the words of author and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel, never again. Never again, it has been said, should be a prayer, a promise, and a vow to end hatred, torture, and the suffering of innocent people. Wiesel also reminds us that the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Let us not be indifferent in these times in which hate will beget hate.
How long? How long till this world is free from suffering?
Good morning. My name is Janet Contreras. I am a member of your Board of Trustees, and I use she, her pronouns. So my husband and I were watching a TV show earlier this week set in a dystopian future, and in the context of complete environmental degradation, a corrupt and authoritarian government, a fomenting rebellion from the oppressed working class, a doctor asked his patient, who was trying to have a baby, why she would want to bring a baby into this world. And she responded that having a baby at this horrible time was like planting a seed of hope for a better future, for a world filled not with hate and fear, but with peace and love. I invite you today to think of your offering like a seed, a symbol of your commitment to plant hope, to nourish justice, and to support the work of this beloved community. Together, the seeds we plant today will nourish a garden to be enjoyed by future generations. A garden that fosters connection, growth, and healing for all those who seek sanctuary here. I invite you to go to our website, MDUUC.org, and click on the Give Now button, or to place your offering in the basket as the ushers come forward. The ushers will now receive our offerings. Now please join me in the dedication of our offering. The words will be on the screen. To the work of this community in transforming ourselves and our world, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings.
Good morning. My name is Rose Rydell. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve as your intern minister. It's good to see you here today, gathered in this sacred space where we can wrestle with life's hardest questions together. I'm grateful for your presence, for your hearts, and for your willingness to engage with a topic that, frankly, isn't easy to talk about. Today, I want to talk about something we all experience at some point: being hurt, wronged, betrayed, or mistreated. And more specifically, I want to talk about what happens next, how we think about those who have harmed us, how we carry that pain, and how we can move toward peace without losing our sense of justice. Now, for the next few minutes, I will be talking about gun violence, and I encourage you to take care of yourselves. And if this is a subject that is particularly triggering for you, feel free to step out of the room for the next 2 or 3 minutes, or if you're online, turn down your volume. My feelings are not going to be hurt. Now, I'll briefly tell you the story of a monster that lived under my bed for nearly 20 years. When I was a young adult, 19 years old, my 17-year-old brother went to school and never came home. He and a classmate were shot and killed by another student who brought a gun to school. Now, for years, I carried the shooter around with me. He was living rent-free in my mind. And with each passing day, he became less human and more larger than life. My family was shattered beyond repair. Only a monster could do that. No one human could do what he did, right? It wasn't until many, many years later, when my own children reached the ages of around 14, 15, 16, that I had a realization that seemed to shift the world on its axis. I realized that, like my children, the shooter was also just a 15-year-old boy at the time of the shooting. He was a child, a bullied child in a mental health crisis, in a bad family situation with improper access to a weapon. It was that moment that the monster living under my bed disappeared and a hurt child took its place. Now, this story is the reason for my commitment to gun violence prevention. And so before I move on, I invite any of you who are interested in gun violence prevention to sign up to join our gun violence prevention group. You can talk to me after service or send me an email about that, and I will be happy to connect you to that group. You can also join me via Zoom on February 26th for a showing of the PBS documentary, Run, Hide, Fight, Growing Up Under the Gun. And you can find information on how to join me there in our newsletters. All right, now, let's acknowledge a universal truth. When someone hurts us, it feels personal. It is personal. Our brains and hearts react in defense. They want to protect us. And sometimes that protection looks like anger. Sometimes it looks like avoidance. And sometimes it looks like turning the person who hurt us into a kind of monster in our minds. Now, have you ever been hurt by someone, directly or indirectly, that just hearing their name makes your stomach tighten? I think many of us are going through that right now. There are a few names currently constant in the news cycle whose words, threats, and actions have made them seem larger than life. A looming figure who holds power over our peace of mind. It's like the monster under the bed when we were kids. It's shadowy, terrifying, and feels impossible to confront. But just like those childhood fears, when we finally get the courage to peek under the bed, we often find that what we were afraid of isn't quite as monstrous as we imagined. Now, this doesn't mean that the hurt isn't real, and it doesn't mean that we excuse bad behavior or forget the harm that's done. But it does mean that when we dehumanize those who hurt us, when we see them only as villains or monsters, we give them more power over us. We let them live rent-free in our hearts and minds. And that's no way to live. Unitarian Universalism teaches us the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Every person. Not just the people who are kind to us, not just our friends and family. Even those who have caused us and are causing us pain. And I know that is a hard pill to swallow. But this isn't about letting people off the hook. It's about freeing ourselves from the grip of fear and resentment. When we remember that those who have wronged us are human, with flaws, fears, and histories of their own, we can begin to see the situation more clearly. We can recognize patterns of behavior, understand motivations, and make decisions that are rooted in wisdom rather than reactivity. We can hold people accountable without letting anger consume us. Now think of it this way. If you're constantly thinking of someone as a monster, how likely are you to find peace? Monsters, by definition, are terrifying, uncontrollable, and beyond reason. But people can change. People can be understood. People can be forgiven, even if that forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. And people can be fought. The systems created by people can be fought. Finding peace after being harmed isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering differently. It's about seeing the whole picture, the full picture, the good and the bad, and deciding that your well-being isn't going to be tied to someone else's actions anymore. It's about recognizing that, yes, you were hurt. You are hurt. But you are more than your wounds. This process isn't easy. It takes time, reflection, and often a lot of support. Sometimes we need to sit with our pain and really feel it before we can move forward. And that's okay. Healing isn't linear. But with each step we take toward understanding and compassion, even if it's just compassion for ourselves, we reclaim a little bit of our power. So how do we begin this journey? How do we start to see the humanity in those who have hurt us and are currently, actively trying to hurt us? First, we practice empathy. And that does not mean justifying harmful behavior, but it does mean trying to understand where that other person is coming from, what might have led them to act the way that they do or did, what fears, insecurities, or past experiences are influencing their behavior. When we can see someone's humanity, it becomes easier to release that grip of fear and anger. Second, we can set boundaries. Recognizing someone's humanity does not mean letting them continue to hurt us. We can love and forgive from a distance. We can choose who we allow into our lives or onto our TV screens or social media, while still honoring their inherent worth and dignity. Third, we can focus on our own growth. Every experience, even the painful ones, teach us something. What have you learned about yourself from this hurt? And how can you use that knowledge to become stronger, wiser, and more compassionate? And we can seek community. Healing is often a communal process. So surround yourself with people who support you, who listen without judgment, and who remind you of your worth. Share your story when you're ready, and listen to the stories of others. In doing so, we build bridges of understanding and connection. And we can take action in small and large ways to counter the harm that is being caused. You can email and call your senators and tell them to use every tool available to fight back. Tell them to shut down the Senate in the middle of this crisis. Or contact Reverend Rodney and find out about becoming an immigration ally. You can join with Faith in Action East Bay and MDUUC on February 21st for an immigration support vigil. You can join with us in a march for an ACLU Know Your Rights training. I encourage you to support organizations that are resources for justice and safety for our transgender siblings, like Pink Haven Coalition, Transgender Law Center, and local trans-led organizations. You can find a map of small, grassroots trans-led organizations in the US at the Trans Justice Funding Project. Look in the Social Justice newsletter for more information about actions you can take. Taking action is one way that we can protect and support ourselves and our own peace of mind. Now remember, finding peace doesn't mean forgetting the harm. It means choosing to live fully, to reclaim your power, and to move forward with an open heart. You deserve that. We all do. I invite you to reflect on the people in your life, past or present, who have caused or are causing you pain. What would it look like to see them not as monsters, but as flawed, complicated humans? How might that shift in perspective bring you closer to peace? May we find the courage to face the monsters under our beds, and in doing so, discover that we are braver, stronger, and more compassionate than we ever realized. Amen, and blessed be.
Please rise and body your spirit for our closing song, hymn number 1012, When I Am Frightened. This hymn was composed for the centennial celebration of First Unitarian Church of Dallas. From the perspective of youth, it expresses a yearning for truth, respect, and engagement across generations.
When I am frightened, you reassure me. When I am certain, you hold my hand. Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, and I may learn to care as you do, and I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, you understand. Will you believe in me? Stand by me willingly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to give. When I am troubled, you listen to me. When I am lonely, you be my friend. Will you be there for me? Call me tenderly. Will you share some of your feelings with me? If you will show me compassion, and I may learn to love as you do, then I may learn to love.
As we prepare to depart from this space today, I will leave you with these words by Jim McGraw. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace seeking justice. I mean go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in the peace that is created when, together, we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace.